Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai all glories to Prabhupada.
All glories to Prabhupada. So I'm at the temples, and my husband started the recording from a
Okay.
different computer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Uh, okay. So, do you want me to chant the prayers?
I can say Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki.
Okay. Did your husband want to read a verse today, or is he able to talk?
No, Prabhu. He is doing he's preparing for some class. So he
Oh,
usually
okay.
does not join. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I can read the first one if you like.
Sure, Prabhu.
All right. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 19, Verse 7. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yatra Dharma Dukha Bhumi Sarva Karma Dukha Sati Dogti Smabi Dogti Smabi Sitanartan Yajamanasya Bharata. Translation. My dear Vidura, in that great sacrifice, the entire land came to be like the milk-producing Kamadhenu, and thus, by the performance of Jagna, all daily necessities of life were supplied. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the word Dharma Dhuga is significant for it indicates Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu is also known as Surabi. Surabi cows inhabit the spiritual world And as stated in Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is engaged in tending these cows. Surabhir hapi palayantam. One can milk a Sarabi cow as often as one likes, and the cow will deliver as much milk as one requires. Milk, of course, is necessary for the production of so many milk products, especially clarified butter, which is required for the performance of great sacrifices. Unless we are prepared to perform the prescribed sacrifices, our supply of the necessities of life will be checked. Bhagavad Gita confirms that Lord Brahma created human society along with Jagna, the performance of sacrifice. Yagna means Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sacrifice means working for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, however, it is very difficult to find qualified brahmanas who can perform sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas. Therefore, it is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, Jagnai Sankirtana Prayai, that by performing Sankirtan Yajna and by satisfying the Yajna Purush, Lord Chaitanya, one can deliver all the results derived by great sacrifices in the past. King Prithu and others derived all the necessities of life from the earthly planet by performing great sacrifices. Now this Sankirtan movement has already been started by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. People should take advantage of this great sacrifice and join in the society's activities. Then there will be no scarcity. If Sankirtan Jagna is performed, there will be no difficulty, not even in industrial enterprises. Therefore, this system should be introduced in all spheres of life, political, social, political, industrial, commercial, etc. Then everything will run very peacefully and smoothly. So, interesting verse, this one, quite a lot in the purport. So this is a basic conclusion about the sacrifice, and the land became like a cow, a milk-producing Kamadhenu, and by that Jagna, all these necessities were supplied. So this is a slightly different situation. And a Kamadhenu is known as the Sarabi cow, which is the cows that inhabit the spiritual world. And these cows are amazing. If we can imagine a cow that delivers as much milk as you need and never runs out of milk, and that milk is transcendental bliss, because everything in the spiritual world, of course, is bliss. So it gives us a small sort of snapshot of the spiritual world and how it is there. We have these types of cows. We have the trees also, the wish-fulfilling trees, and so many incredible, amazing, wonderful pastimes and personalities, and just everything is just amazing beyond our belief. We can't really understand how amazing it is, but Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to show us, and Srila Prabhupada through his purports is trying to show us, gives us a little snapshot to give us an idea of what it's like there. As we were discussing yesterday, in the spiritual world, there's no envy. It's free of envy in the spiritual world. And everyone's pushing each other towards the Lord. Everyone's very happy to see that someone is making advancement, and they're pushing them towards the Lord. Whereas here in the material world, we're trying to push everyone down so we can push ourselves up. And that's based on fear. Prabhupada said yesterday in the purport that envy is actually fear, due to fear, because we fear others becoming more powerful than us, or they have more things than we have, their status is higher, whatever that is. That's all based on fear, because we fear becoming inferior to them. So this wonderful, these little snapshots that we get of the spiritual world are really relishable, and we should really deeply meditate on these. Uh, but of course, the cow produces it produces milk, and from that we can get so many incredible milk products. As Prabhupada mentions, the ghee that's required for the sacrifices. So the cow's role on earth is so important, because these, even though we're performing the Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of the holy names and broadcasting the glories of the Lord, uh, we still have cows here that can provide milk, so that the yajnas can still continue, even though they're not as great as these yajnas here. But still, we have yajnas, especially in the holy dharmas, we have special yajnas. Uh, and like they had the first Jagna in Mayapur recently, with the arrival of Prabhupada in the new uh, TOVP temple. They had the first Jagna. So we devotees and those who are in the mode of goodness, who are following some kind of path of spirituality, are still performing Jagnas. But as Prabhupada mentions here, the most important is the Sankirtan Jagna, which satisfies Lord Chaitanya. And incredibly, we can derive all the results derived by great sacrifices in the past by this Sankirtan Jagna. We can get all those benefits, all those results, just by chanting the holy names, spreading the glories of the holy names, and spreading the glories of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And just by that simple act of Sankirtan Jagna, we can derive all the results from these great sacrifices that happened in the past, which is amazing. And we're talking about King Prithu, who's an incarnation of Krishna. So these are powerful jagnas. And as Prabhupada is mentioning here, that through ISKCON, where this movement has started in the West, and that we should continue to encourage others to take part in the great sacrifice. That's why we talk about Sankirtan, which is chanting of the holy names, distribution of books, and prasadam. Prabhupada gave that formula. If those three things are done together, we can practically eventually take over the world just with that simple formula. And we've seen that. I mean, I became a devotee through prasadam, and then I started reading the books. So in my case, I needed the purification of taking prasadam, and then I collected all the books and started reading them. And that was because the devotees used to walk past where I used to play music, and I started talking to them, and they had prasadam with them. So you see the importance of that is that we need to chant the holy names, distribute books, and prasadam together, and that's perfection. And that, in my case, it definitely worked, and it'll keep working. That formula will keep working as long as we keep encouraging devotees to come to the temple or read the books, or even just take prasadam. And Prabhupada mentions here also, and in many places, he says there's no scarcity. When we surrender to the Lord in some way, the Lord looks after us. He always provides us with what we need. And he says that there's no difficulty even in industrial enterprises, which I thought was quite interesting. And he reaffirms that later by saying, therefore, this system should be introduced in all spheres of life: social, political, industrial, commercial, etc. So it's interesting that he wanted this Sankirtan, in whatever form it takes, to be infiltrating all these areas: social, political, industrial, and commercial. So we see that sometimes. Today I just saw a picture of the president here getting a Bhagavad Gita from one of our devotees. He wasn't dressed as a devotee. Uh, he was dressed in a suit. He's a lawyer, and he personally gave a Bhagavad Gita to the president. So you can see how devotees can infiltrate in so many ways into all these areas of life. And when we do that successfully, everything will be peaceful and smooth. Just like in our spiritual lives, when we do everything correctly, when we chant really nicely, and we hear the Bhagavatam or the Gita very attentively, and we're spiritually charged. Generally speaking, everything's peaceful in our mind, and usually everything's smooth, a lot more smooth than usual. We don't get affected by the modes so much. We don't get angry if something doesn't go our way. We don't get upset about that. We just are able to see that this is a test for me that I need to pass. So our consciousness becomes more thinking of Krishna and how he's trying to show us something, or trying to see the lesson that we need to learn. And if we just follow this jagna of chanting the holy names, taking prasadam, and hearing the philosophy, that's another combination that works every time. So the Lord is giving us the formula for success and how to become peaceful in society. And it reminds us of our purpose, why we're here, the reason why we're here. Why did we become a devotee? Was it just to chant 16 rounds and take prasadam and hear the Bhagavatam, or is it more than that? So as we can see, we do as much as we can according to our means, but ultimately we need to be taking part in the Sankirtan Jagna and telling people about Krishna and convincing them to become devotees and take up the chanting, take prasadam. Whatever way we can get to them, we need to get to them and convince them somehow. And that's our purpose. That's why we're here. We're helping Prabhupada in his society of devotees to spread this wonderful treasure that we have. So I think that's all I can think of to say about that verse. If someone wants to say anything more about that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for your inspirational sharing. This what we have is something so wonderful. So, and Srila Prabhupada definitely wanted it to be shared with as many people as we could. So, and that keeps a devotee inspired in their spiritual life when they share this knowledge about Krishna, understanding of Krishna. So, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's move to the next verse.
So Ruchi Mataji has also done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can read.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
I just need to the beginning. Yes. Who sarva? It's not clear. Prasan Natya Shira Datya Anagorasan Taravo Bhuri Varshamana Prasuyanta Madhu Achitya. Translation: The flowing river supplied all kinds of tastes. sweet, pungent, sour, etc. And very big trees supplied fruit and honey in abundance. The cows, having eaten sufficient green grass, supplied profuse quantities of milk, curd, clarified butter, and similar other necessities. Purport: if rivers are not polluted and are allowed to flow in their own way, or sometimes allowed to flood the land, the land will become very fertile and able to produce all kind of vegetables, trees and plants. The word rasa means taste. Ah, actually, all rasas are tastes within the earth, and as soon as seeds are sown in the ground, various trees sprout up to satisfy our different tastes. For instance, sugarcane provides us juices to satisfy our taste for sweetness, and orange provides the juices to satisfy our taste for a mixture of the sour and the sweet. Similarly, there are pineapple and other fruits. At the same time, there are chilies to satisfy our taste for pungency. Although the earth's ground is the same, different tastes arise due to different kinds of seeds, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam. I am the hold on. I am the original seed of all existences. Therefore, all arrangements are there, and as stated in Ishopanishad Purnam Idam, complete arrangements for the production of all the necessities of life are made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. People should therefore learn how to satisfy the Yagna Purusha Lord Vishnu. Indeed, the living entity's prime business is to satisfy the Lord, because the living entity is part and parcel of the Lord. Thus, the whole system is so arranged that the living entity must do his duty as he is constitutionally made. Without doing so, all living entities must suffer. That is the law of nature. The words Taravo Bhuri Varshamanaha indicate very luxuriantly grown big-bodied trees. The purpose of these trees was to produce honey and varieties of fruit. In other words, the forest also has its purpose in supplying honey, fruits, and flowers. Unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, due to absence of yagna, there are many big trees in the forests, but they do not supply sufficient fruits and honey. Thus, everything is dependent on the performance of yagna. The best way to perform yagna in this age is to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world. So I have to explain it now. And my mind is a little bit foggy. So I have to explain it now, the verse.
If you like, Mataji, or someone else can.
I can do a little bit and then someone else. Can you scroll in the beginning? Okay. So here it is very aptly said that if rivers are not polluted and are allowed to flow, the land will actually become very fertile. So here it's a very nice verse telling us about how the earth is the Prakriti and Lord Vishnu is the Purush. So everything happens by the combination of Purush and Prakriti. So here Lord Vishnu is the seed-giving father, or Krishna is the seed-giving father. And here the Prakriti takes the seed and it multiplies it. So like I had mentioned before, that I was hearing in a lecture that, yeah, whatever we plant in this fertile land, even our body is a part of earth. So whatever we plant in this mind, body, intelligence, ego, everything, the mother nature amplifies it. So if it is good, if we keep on sowing good seeds, it'll produce good in the end. Like the system of garbage in, garbage out we hear. So um, so here, like here it said in this that um, can I scroll the beginning? I didn't see the beginning of the verse. I can't see the beginning of the verse. Okay, so if the rivers are not polluted and allowed to flow, then that is the divine nectar, or the rivers are the um, water which, when it gives it flows over the land, if they are not polluted, then they will produce the juice and the fruits, which is like the thing which gives us nutrition. But these days, these rivers are polluted. In India, especially, they don't take very good care of sanitizing the rivers. So that is a very sad thing, even though we worship the rivers. But I think now they are doing these things. But in America, what good thing is they are very careful about preserving what Mother Nature has so bountifully given. Uh, in America, I've seen one thing and I really respect it, that people keep their rivers and beaches clean, and there are technologies so that even the bad water doesn't get mixed with the uh, with the nice water. In Chicago, we see that. So that is, I appreciate that a lot, because we have to respect what God or Mother Nature has given us. So so um, So yes, many type of trees sprout up to satisfy our different tastes. For instance, sugarcane and all these. So we see that, whatever kind of seed we put into the Mother Earth, it will really like come out to be nutritious and tasteful for the human palate. So like there are so many different varieties of vegetables and fruits, and we do not need anything artificial, because there's so much variety in nature itself. Like an orange, sugarcane, even if we want to produce this in our factories, we cannot make something like a natural orange juice or a natural sugarcane juice, in spite of like different cocktails of juices we try to buy in the market is not going to be ever as good as, or something made by artificial means can never beat that the taste of what Mother Nature gives. So here, yeah, so different arrangements um, for like for satisfying the human palate is there. But we have to remember that everybody is doing their duty. The sun is giving us the heat. It is taking up the water from the rivers, absorbing it, make it, and then forming clouds, and then the clouds are formed, and then it gives rain. So, and then the rivers are supplying water to the earth, and it takes so much to produce one bag of rice, one pound of vegetables, that we have to be appreciative of all the labor and all the forces of the universe that go into giving us our daily bread. Like we say, that's why we always praise God for, like, thank you for giving us our daily bread, because it takes a lot of energy of the Lord. I always say, and I always think that humans are the most high maintenance, what you call species that God has made, because we take so much from Mother Nature. And even like the normal animals, when they die, they take very little, and when they die, they give back to Mother Nature their bodies, but they take very little from Mother Nature. But when we start exploiting, when human beings start exploiting the forces of God and Mother Nature, then that's when all these calamities start to happen because we forget that we are here to do our duty and not to enjoy. So that was my two cents. I don't want to keep going on, but yeah, thanks for giving me the chance to speak.
Thank you so much, Ruchi Mataji. I also wanted to add something that I felt was uh, like standing out for me in the purport. The Prabhupada was speaking about yajna. Yajna means that anything we do for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord is yajna. With that intention in mind, that whatever we do is for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So, Prabhupada is saying that all these very nice arrangements are there in nature, and everything goes on very nicely by the performance of yajna. See here, Prabhupada says, thus everything is dependent on performance of yajna. The best way to perform yajna in this age is to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world. So this actually connects with the previous purport that we read today, that by doing activities that please the Supreme Lord, like we bring more fortune into our lives. Krishna gives more when we do something for him. And one of the best things that we can do is perform the Sankirtan yajna, which basically means like we sit together and chant the holy name of the Lord. That is Sankirtan yajna, and give prasadam, as Prabhu was saying, and distribute some books which have the knowledge, the information which describe about Krishna. So that is what will bring all other forms of natural fortune, the fortune that we get from Mother Nature, the supplies that we get from Mother Nature. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah,
Is
very
it
nice.
okay?
I also was thinking that two things. One, that the Mataji mentioned about the river has been cleaned, being maintained. I was reading the other day, or hearing the other day, about the holy rivers, how they're never contaminated by outside influences. Um, even though there's so much pollution being poured into these rivers, the Jamuna and the Ganga and others.
Yeah, they don't even have a system to separate the sewage, which is really sad. And I hope the government takes care of it pretty soon. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, they
Sorry.
should give respect to the rivers. But the point Prabhupada was making was, even though that all these contaminating things are being put into the river, still the river is untouched and it's still clean, because the scientists can't work out how come when they test the water it's not contaminated. So that's because, of course, we know that these rivers come from the feet of Lord Vishnu, and they never get contaminated actually. But at the same time, they should be respectful and make sure that they don't allow all that pollution to go in. But it was just interesting that even though all that is going on, they still remain pure, and that's why you see sages and many people bathing in these rivers. They just clear aside all the rubbish and stuff or whatever it is, push it aside, and bathe themselves. And the other thing I was interested in was when Prabhupada says here, indeed, the living entity's prime business is to satisfy the Lord, because the living entity is part and parcel of the Lord. Thus, the whole system is so arranged that the living entity must do his duty as he is constitutionally made. Now, that was interesting to me, because that means that if we're following the Varnashram system, Daiva Varnashram system, we must do our duty according to our constitution. In other words, according to our, our Varna, if we're a Kshatriya or a you know, a Vaishya or a Brahmana, we must do our duty within that system. And if we don't do that, then all living entities must suffer. That is the law of nature. I thought that was really strong. You know, if we don't do our duty within this system, then all living entities, not just us, everyone suffers because yajnas are not being done, and then as we know, as Kali Yuga progresses, the availability of water and fruit and grains, all that goes away, gradually diminishes because of the sinful activities of the people on the planet. So it's just, I thought that was interesting that all living entities suffer, not just the ones who are not doing their duty. It's because the whole system is based on the Mother Earth giving according to the yajnas that are being done. So okay, I guess
Prabhu, could you repeat the point that you said about like like all living entities suffer? Like how did you like describe it? Like not just the people who don't do their duty, but everyone else also.
yeah,
Like
because
can you
the earth,
explain that a little bit?
well, because the earth doesn't supply the needs of the people, because the the, the brahmanas, for instance, are not doing their duties. They're not offering grains in the fire of the yajna. If we're not doing our duties according to the varnashram system, and we're not doing these yajnas, even the Sankirtan yajna, then everyone suffers because by doing the yajnas, we get everything in abundance, as mentioned. The earth supplies everything that we need. It says
So
here, as stated in complete arrangements for the production of all necessities of life are made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we do the Jagya Purush, when we satisfy the Jagya Purush.
so I had a question also. Like you said that we must do our duty according to our constitution and everything. But it's also said the person who takes to Krishna consciousness is automatically a Brahmin, and for him all duties cease to be because he has taken to. So he has no duty towards the father or the mother, or like the rituals of like. I'm not saying like no duties towards the parents. I'm sorry, I should put it another way, like satisfying the ancestors and all the rituals and everything he doesn't have to do because they're because he is like he has surpassed that. So then if a person has taken to Krishna consciousness, then automatically that statement does not hold. That no, that was my thing. Yeah. So,
Well, automatically a Brahmana, if they're doing things properly, if they're chanting the holy names without offenses and doing everything properly, yes, they're automatically a Brahmana. Um, the reason why we have the Varnashram system, the Daiva Varnashram system, is so that we can serve the Lord according to our nature. And that's why Prabhupada always talked about Varn Ashram, so Varna and Ashram. So, you know, all the ashrams, whether you're a grihastha or a sannyasi or a brahmachari, whatever you are, and your Varna, which is your constitutional, the way you're constitutionally made, your nature, in other words, can be engaged in various ways. Kshatriyas generally are management. They take up management roles, and they arrange and manage the Vaishyas who are expert at selling. So Prabhupada engaged those natures in the Sankirtan Yajna, which is really what we're talking about here, by selling books. That's a Vaishya activity. You can say it's a transcendental activity. Yes, it is, but it's engaging a Vaishya nature. and say a Kshatriya is a manager, so Prabhupada appointed managers to organize and arrange the Sankirtan. So really the main thing here is the Sankirtan Jagna, and how you see by Prabhupada's example how he engaged his disciples in various ways to fulfill the Sankirtan Jagna. But of course, some souls are naturally Brahminical, just by their nature they're Brahminical, so they tend to go towards the Brahminical side of things. But not everyone's like that. Unless you're on a very high level of purity when you join the movement, then that's a different thing.
But I thought
Otherwise,
that even if a person comes from a family of dog eaters, if he takes to Krishna consciousness, he automatically becomes better than a Brahmin, better than one born in a Brahmin family, or better than a Brahmin.
yeah, that's right. But at the same time, we're trying to practically perform Jagna in the Sankirtan movement. So we have to fit in somewhere. How do we do that in the most effective way? And the most effective way is to serve the Lord according to our capacity or our nature. Unless we're very advanced, in which case we can do any of those. We can take up any role within the movement of Lord Chaitanya. If we're very advanced, we can do that. But if we're not that advanced, which is myself, and at the time when Prabhupada was trying to spread the movement, obviously his disciples weren't very advanced also. So he had to engage their natures in different ways to help him spread his movement. And he did that by engaging devotees in Sankirtan, singing the holy names, book production, management, etc. Otherwise, there's no meaning of Daiva Varnashram. And that's 50% of Srila Prabhupada's mission, he said, was incomplete. He said that 50%, the remaining 50% is to establish Daiva Varnashram. So there's no meaning of the Daiva Varnashram if we're above that. In other words, if we think that we're above the Varnashram system, then what do you do? I mean, that's my understanding. Maybe someone has another understanding about that. But I'm just reading what it says in the purport here.
I'm sorry, but Ruchi Mataji, like, what was your question again? Like,
No, my question was that every living entity must do his duty as he is constitutionally made. So without doing so, Prabhu was saying that all living entities must suffer. That is the law of nature. So I was trying to say that it is said that a person who has taken to Krishna consciousness surpasses all the duties and rites and rituals that they need to perform as
I
a
got it.
Yeah.
And then what was the punchline in the question?
And also like even if if the varnashram was either shudra or whatever, but if you take to Krishna consciousness, you automatically become better than a Brahmin, because first of all you are trying to follow the four regulative principles and stuff like that, and chanting yes and all that. So that was my thing, that the varnashram does not exist I was trying to say it doesn't exist anymore, because we have already taken to the highest worshipping Lord Vishnu.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, now I can relate better to Rasirasika Prabhu's answer. Yeah. Thank you so much, both of you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Prabhupada was so expert.
Yeah, I think it's according to the interpretation of what he's saying in the purport here, that when we become a devotee, we still have a duty to serve and satisfy Jagya Purush. So constitutionally, every living entity that's their prime duty, is to satisfy Lord Vishnu. And to do that, you have to be engaged in some way. So there needs to be a system to engage you. And that's, I think, what Prabhupada is talking about here, is that when we don't do that, when we don't perform our duty in the sense of serving Lord Vishnu in some way, say, for instance, book distribution, that can be considered a duty. But it's, as we know, it's a service. So it's both a service and something that we do regularly. If we don't do those things, then the Sankirtan Jagya is not going on properly. And if that's not going on properly, then no one becomes liberated. And also the earth, for instance, starts to withhold resources. There's a famous example of when there's a powerful kirtan and there's been a drought, then the drought will break and the rain will come. So because the holy names are being chanted, Lord Indra reciprocates with that, and the rain starts to come. The Lord, of course, is controlling the demigods like Indra. So Lord Vishnu is satisfied by the chanting of the holy names, and so are the demigods. So it depends how you define the word duty. But from what I can see, it means that every living entity has a duty, according to its constitution, to serve and please Lord Vishnu, the Jagya Purush. And the topmost Jagya in this Kali Yuga is the Sankirtan Jagna. And to effectively perform that Jagna, as we have seen by the example of Srila Prabhupada, he engaged his disciples according to their nature or their constitution. And that's why he had some devotees in management and some devotees not in management, perhaps distributing books or just singing the holy names. So he would make that distinction, because we're not that advanced that we're just automatically above all that. If we are very advanced, we are above that, and we will still do our duty. Prabhupada didn't have to chant 16 rounds, but he was doing it as an example to show and to encourage us. But he didn't. He was completely liberated soul, but he didn't have to chant. But he knew that if he wasn't acting as an acharya and showing by example, then no one else would. So even if we are on that level of being above a brahmana, still we will perform our duty for the pleasure of the Lord. Okay. It's getting quite late. Did you want to finish things up?
Yes, that will be wonderful. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. So we'll meet again tomorrow, 5 p.m. And on Friday, it's Govardhan Puja. So I won't be able to join. I will try to join, but I don't know, depending on what's going on around me, I may not be able to join. But if all of you would like to continue the discussion, please participate and let others know that you will be there, so that others also feel inspired to join.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your association.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.